What's up, puzzlers? All right, so hey, listen, I wanted to take a minute to teach you how to play Sudoku. Sudoku is a Japanese number puzzle. It's actually really good for your brain. There's a lot of research that shows that as we use tools that make our brain think as opposed to staring at video screens, it actually helps strengthen that brain muscle. So think about like going to the gym for your brain, all right? It's a really interesting puzzle. There's only one solution to the puzzle, so you'll know if you got it right. We'll talk about how you'll know that in just a minute here. But if you haven't done Sudoku before, I'm going to encourage you to give it a try and then use it as a potential pastime to help you strengthen that brain muscle of yours. All right? Let's take a look at this number puzzle called Sudoku. All right, so here's the deal. You can see that Sudoku is made up of rows. You have these 9 rows that go throughout the puzzle here. Sudoku is also made up of 9 columns. You can see that run throughout the puzzle here, 9 columns. And Sudoku is also made up of 9 boxes. You can see these boxes outlined by the darker colored lines. So since 9 obviously is a repeating number in this, it would stand to reason to be part of the puzzle. So here's the way Sudoku works. In every single row throughout the puzzle, you're going to use the numbers 1 through 9 only one time each. Okay. Now there's no math to this puzzle. There's no adding or subtracting or multiplying or dividing. It just is a puzzle, but it happens to involve numbers and logical patterns of thinking. Okay. So for example, in this row right here, you're going to use the numbers 1 through 9 only one time each. You can see right here that there's a 7. That means that in this row, there can be no other 7s. That is the one and only 7 that can exist in this row right here. But it's not just the rows. You see, each column throughout the whole puzzle also has to have the numbers 1 through 9 only one time each. So in other words, this 7 right here, not only is that the only 7 that can be in this row, this is also the only 7 that can be in this column. So you can see now it gets a little bit trickier because that 7 takes up both a row and a column. But that wasn't everything that I pointed out in the beginning. You see, there's also the boxes that we talked about. And in the boxes, in every single one of these dark lined 3x3 boxes, pardon me, my alarm went off there. In every one of those boxes, you are also going to use the numbers 1 through 9 only one time each. Okay, so you can see here that this 7 is the only 7 that you can have in this row. This 7 is the only 7 you can have in this column. And this 7 is the only 7 that you can have in this box. So you got to be very particular about where you put your numbers. All right. And we'll take a look at how to do this here in just a second. But let me just tell you this right off the bat. Listen to me very carefully when I say this. Sudoku is more about trying to figure out what cannot go in a row, column, or box than it is about trying to figure out what can. Okay, so it's actually a process of elimination puzzle, and if you take that approach to it, you'll see that it'll be much easier for you to figure out the right numbers. And you have to understand that, it's really important that you get the right numbers in the right place, because if you say this is a 6 and then you build the rest of your puzzle off of that assumption and that number's wrong, your whole puzzle is going to be wrong. So it's really important that you don't put a number down on there until you are 100% for sure that has to be the number, and that's where process of elimination comes into play. Okay, let's take a look at what I'm talking about. We're going to take a look at this box right here to start off with. And the reason I chose this box is because you can see that there are only 3 numbers missing. So if every box has to contain the numbers 1 through 9, then ask yourself right now, what are the 3 numbers that are missing from within this box? Go ahead and figure that out in your mind right now. What are the 3 numbers that are missing 1 through 9 from this box right here? Okay, so you should have figured out that there's a 3, a 7, and a 9 missing. So this is how I like to do it. I write little numbers. I'll go, okay, well, I'm missing a 3, a 7, or a 9. So the only thing that could possibly be in that box is a 3, a 7, or a 9. Same thing here. Could only be a 3, a 7, or a 9. Same thing here. Could only be a 3, a 7, or a 9. Those are the only possible opportunities that could exist in those boxes. All right? Now, once you have that done, now you're going to use your rows and columns. So we're working on boxes. So you're going to use your rows and columns to see if you can eliminate some of those potential numbers that could be in that box. Like, for example, let's talk about this column right here. You'll notice something, right? We talked about the fact that there's a 7 there. That means that this right here cannot be a 7 because there's already a 7 in that row. So by process of elimination, we can cross out this 7. Now, unfortunately, in this row right here, we don't know anything about 3s and 9s, so that doesn't help us. All right. If we take a look at this row right here, well, you can see that there is a 9 already down here. So we could cross off the 9 because of this 9 right here. Can only have one 9 in the row. That means that of our potential solutions, this couldn't be a 9. If we look at this column right here, well, unfortunately, that doesn't tell us anything about 3, 7, and 9. But we're not tied to just columns since we have rows and boxes also. And we're working on a box, so you use the other two. If you're working on boxes, you're going to use rows and columns. If you're working on rows, you're going to use columns and boxes. If you're working on columns, you're going to use rows and boxes to check for your process of elimination. All right, so let's talk about rows. Let's look across at this row right here. Any 3s or 9s that you see? No, I don't, so that doesn't help us. Let's look at this row right here. Anything you see that helps us? Oh yeah, look at that right there. A 9 and a 7, right? Now that's big because check it out. That means this can't be a 9 and this can't be a 7. Guess what? We found our first number. This has to be the 3. And so then I write it a little bit bigger. And now I can circle it. And when I circle it, that means I know for sure that that's a 3. But see, now I've learned something because not only do I know that this is a 3, now I know this cannot be a 3 here and cannot be a 3 here, and that tells me 2 more numbers. So by process of elimination, I've now found the 9, and by process of elimination, I've now found the 7. You see how that works? So that's pretty much about it. You're going to try to figure out what numbers could possibly go in the boxes and then use your process of elimination to try to define exactly what number should be in the box, okay? Now, I do have a little bit of an advanced process for you that I'm going to show you right now that could help you if you get stuck and the rows, boxes, and columns checks don't provide for you the numbers that you're looking for. All right, let's take a look at kind of a little bit more advanced way of figuring out some numbers. Back to the puzzle. Now, I said I was going to show you a little bit more advanced way. Let's consider this box right here. All right, why don't you figure out what numbers are missing 1 through 9 in this middle box right? Okay, all right, that's a dumb question. They're all missing. All right, I get it. Okay, but watch this. I'm going to show you to find a way. Instead of having to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in each one of these little boxes, let's see if we can't make some progress in here first before we actually get down to the nitty-gritty. All right, so I want you to see something, right? We talked about the rows throughout the puzzles here, but notice that each box is made up of either 1, 2, 3 rows or 1, 2, 3 columns. So this set of boxes along the top here are made up of rows 1, row 2, and row 3 like that. And so this whole idea of only being able to have one number in each box kind of helps us with this. All right, I'm a little confusing. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's consider these middle 3 boxes right here, right? So we've got this first box, the second box, and the third box here in this middle section of the Sudoku puzzle. All right, so we know this much. Let's take, for example, the 5, okay? So we know in this row there can only be 1 5. In this row, there can only be 1 5, and in this row, there can only be 1 5. Now, what's helpful is when you see in 2 of the 3 rows a given number that you know for sure, like, for example, the 5 and the 5, all right? So we know for sure that the 5 for this row is already taken up, which means that in this big box right here where we have all these empty spaces, there cannot be a 5 in this top 3 spots. That's a good process of elimination for us. Likewise, we also know that the 5 here takes up the bottom row, which means that there cannot be a 5 here. We just eliminated 6 potential opportunities for a 5. So now the question becomes, if the 5 can't be here and it can't be here, that means it has to be in one of these 3 boxes here. Could we use other processes of elimination to figure that out? Well, sure. Let's check the rows. Like take this row, for example. Check it out. There's already a 5 in this row, which means that we know right now the 5 in this middle box has got to be in this middle 3 sections here, and it can't be this one. How about this one? No 5s there that are going to tell us anything, but how about this one? Yep, check it out. There's a 5 right there. So see, what we did was we used cross-referencing. We used this 5 to eliminate those top 3 boxes. We used this 5 to eliminate those bottom 3 boxes. So we knew that it had to be here in the middle 3. We used this 5 to eliminate this box. We used this 5 to eliminate this box. And what we're left with, we know for sure the middle is a 5. All right? So a little bit more advanced, but one way that you can use that, and you can do it the other way too. You can also check rows for those pairs of numbers as well. All right. So what you're looking for are pairs of numbers. Like for example, let me see if I can find another one here. Check it out. Here's a 9 and here's a 9. You could probably use that to see if you could figure out somewhere in here there's going to have to be a 9 in that middle row right there. And because there's one in this box and one in this box, you know that there's got to be a 9 in here. It's got to be used. And it can't be in here, and it can't be in here. That's going to give you some good places to look for a 9. All right. In fact, you should be able to see it already right off the bat, because if the 9 can't be here and the 9 can't be here, it has to be either in this box or in this box. And check it out. We happen to know that there's a 9 here, which means it can't be this one. And so then we can say for sure that has to be a 9. So that's a really good trick to start filling in some numbers around your table, okay, around your Sudoku puzzle. And then from here, you could actually do other spots to fill in. You know, I would look for places where there aren't a lot of missing numbers. Like, for example, this might be a good place to go next on this puzzle would be this row, because look, there's only 1, 2, 3 numbers missing. Or maybe this box, 1, 2, 3 numbers missing. Or maybe this one, you can see there's only 3 numbers missing. So you want to look for the least numbers missing in boxes and rows and bounce your way around. But remember, and I'll say it again one last time before I turn you loose, remember that, you know, don't circle a number and assume anything for sure until you've checked it by process of elimination to make sure that no other number 1 through 9 can go in that box. All right, so I think that'll do it. And hopefully you'll have some fun doing some Sudoku puzzles.